Thank you very much. Merhaba, everyone. Good afternoon. So we've heard from 3 presentations prior to mine. Those are largely quantitative studies. Mine is a little bit different. It's not a quantitative nor a qualitative study. It's more of a case study. So I'm here to just share about what we do in the Singapore Institute of Technology in Singapore. So my name is Intan. I'm an associate professor. I'm the deputy director of this new center called Clasic, Community Leadership and Social Innovation Center. This is an overview of what I'll be sharing today, a quick introduction, as well as what are the main educational pillars that we have in SIT, the Singapore Institute of Technology. How we are trying to prepare our graduates for society and the world at large, and what we do in particular in terms of community leadership and social innovation projects in the university. And I will share with you 2 examples that we've done on such projects. And what are some of the things that we've learned, and looking at the way ahead, what else do we need to do to improve what we're doing? So we know that the higher education landscape is very dynamic. A lot of things have changed. We know that there's increasingly greater demand for industry relevance of our degree programs. It's not just about preparing students to, like what Dr. Umit mentioned this morning, it's not just about preparing them to work 9 to 5 jobs, but really to prepare them for the industry that's evolving very quickly. So we need to ensure that our graduates are industry ready, as well as creating opportunities for interdisciplinary learning. Here, I just want to share a little bit on the 3 visions or types of universities that Barnet University mentioned. One is called the Research University, which exists in itself, that is for science, for the development and progress in science, and to add to the existing body of knowledge that's available out there. Second is the Entrepreneurial University. I think Shakir also mentioned quite a bit in the chat, which exists for itself to support a particular company or the industries out there in general. And third is the Ecological University, which exists for others, being open to all and being open to the world. So this paper shares the educational goals of a young applied learning university in Singapore, the Singapore Institute of Technology. It is only about, how old is the university now? It's 13 years old. It's a 13-year-old university, very young. It's the 5th autonomous university in Singapore. In case you don't already know, Singapore is very small. It's at the southern tip of Malaysia. There are only 6 public-funded autonomous universities, and SIT is the 5th one. So this, I will share a little bit on the pedagogical approaches that the university has in trying to develop and nurture our students to prepare them to be both industry-ready and socially aware and attuned. The SIT DNA, as we call it, for those of you who do biology, you know that DNA, you have the 4 thymine, guanosine, and so on. So TACG, right? So we use that as part of our SIT DNA, making sure that our students are thinkers, that they don't just look at the cognitive aspects of knowledge and education, but they are working on it, they are hands-on, applied learning, that they are able to learn, unlearn what they know so that they can relearn new things, that they are also catalysts for transformation, that they will be the one to ignite and initiate change rather than just following changes that happen, and that they are grounded in the community because they need to have their pulse on the ground and understand what is the need out there in society. Because ultimately, when they go out as professionals, they need to make informed decisions on what society needs. So SIT has this pedagogy of applied learning. We do a lot of industry attachment, 9 to 12 months of what we call our integrated work study program, or IWSP, which is internship. So our students perform a very long period of internship. So we're happy to share that about 80% of our students already have job offers before they even graduate, because they already spent about almost 1 year in companies in the industry. So they get job offers before they graduate. So students work in companies and learn on the job, and they work on real world industry problems. So by working very closely with the industry, it's not just about creating opportunities for them to be employed, but also opportunities for them to learn what really are the challenges, the opportunities out there in the industry, to prepare them before they even graduate, to ensure that what they learn continues to remain relevant and updated. Another educational pillar in SIT is our interdisciplinary learning, where starting from AY 2022, which is coming, now we are in the planning stage, we are harmonizing all our undergraduate programs in the university, where we are ensuring that students would have opportunities to learn in an interdisciplinary manner from one another. And there are two mandatory modules that are introduced. One is the interdisciplinary design innovation, and second is the social innovation project, which requires them to work in this interdisciplinary teams. So we've created a white space time slot every Wednesday afternoon for students to just reach out to their friends from different academic programs in the university, as well as the faculty members, to work on projects that are of relevance to both the industry and to society. Another educational pillar in SIT is our digital competencies. So we're very focused in this area. We ensure that for both our faculty and students, they get support. One is in the form of the Center for Learning Environment and Assessment Development, or COLEAD. The other is the Center for Digital Enablement, or CODE. This is to ensure that we can look at both faculty in terms of teaching, support to use the newest and most relevant digital technologies, and for students to coordinate their digital and data literacy skills to ensure that they have the skills required before they venture out into the workforce. So this is how we are preparing our graduates for society and the world. Okay, it's hanging. Just give me a minute. There we go. Yeah. So we want to ensure that our graduates develop empathy for societal challenges and problems, that they have opportunities for collaboration, that they develop that growth mindset to be able to see how they can improve rather than just pinpoint that's the problem, this is the problem, and it's not me, but something else or someone else. Develop digital competencies, and that they are adaptable. So most of these competencies of experience can be developed through engagement in real-world communities. And here I would like to use what Frederica Quarteng mentioned about the pedagogy of connection, meaning that what we learn in the university, in the classroom, would not be very useful if we do not have that connection with societies that come into contact with. Because ultimately, even as you go out as industry professionals, you need to have that experience of working in communities and societies to make that informed decision, to inform your professional practice later on. Yeah. So we strive to create opportunities for students to apply their learning, their skills, and that's why Clasic was set up only in October 2020. So we're less than 2 years old. We want to align our university's focus on applied learning and creating opportunities for social innovation projects in the community. So one example is the smart water meters for low-income households. So what we did was we worked with a private company called Ecosoft that looks at technologies for water usage, and we work with the community, grassroots organizations, to help low-income families monitor their water usage. Right? This project was incorporated in the MEC 2371 module, Specialized Engineering Project module, under the area of smart design. So we had one group of students in the mechanical engineering degree program to embark on this project. And what we did was we brought the students out to public rental flats. Now, while Singapore is considered a developed country, and about 85% of our population own their own homes, there's still 15% that is renting, whether renting public flats from the government or from the private sector. So we have the bottom 10% of our society that are considered to be less privileged, low-income families who are living in public rental flats. And I think it's important for our students to recognize what are some of the challenges faced in these families while they try to create designs for the smart water meter to help the families monitor their water usage. So we brought them out to rental flats. Some of the students have never been in a rental flat before, so they were quite surprised by the space constraint in these small flats. And when they looked at the distance between where they can put the smart water meter and the kind of environment, they had to go back to the drawing board and redesign their smart water meter. They have to make the size a lot smaller, make it a lot more waterproof because there's very heavy water usage here. So that's me and my colleague. We brought them out to visit the families, talk to them, do the measurements, and find out what are some of the challenges that this low-income families face. when it comes to space, when it comes to water usage, and so on. So the students did the prototype, they tested it out in a campus as well as at home, and they managed to monitor the water usage through the Arduino chip, and then within 2 weeks, they can actually look at the trends of water usage use. So they did the 3D printing of those smart water meter, and the next step that they're doing now is installing this in 20 public rental flat households, where they can help the families monitor their water usage and manage their water cost. So students expressed that the opportunity to engage with the household members helped them to really develop a sense of empathy and open up their minds towards what are some of the challenges faced in some of these households, especially those that are elderly households, elderly poor, or big families, low income, and then they really need help to manage their water costs. Because unlike in some countries, in Singapore, every drop of water you use, you have to pay for it, and it's not very cheap. It's quite expensive in Singapore. Another example is the gamification design of mobile application on healthy eating for preschool children. With this, we work with a non-profit organization to help children from low-income families through a mobile application to monitor their nutrition and healthy eating, so that it also becomes a way for them to bond with their parents on what are some of the healthy nutrition, good food that they can eat, instead of just eating snacks or fast food. So we introduced this in one design thinking module within our ICT program in SIT. And we brought in students from our health and social sciences cluster, including food, chemical, and bioengineering cluster, where they provided their inputs in terms of nutrition and dietetics. So these are some of the designs that they came up with for the Healthy Mobile Eating app. And the non-profit organization that we work with, they were very excited. So they took, we had I think about 6 designs. So in the end, they selected 2 designs, and they will continue to develop it with an IT vendor into a proper working mobile application. So our students had a lot of good learning experience, because through the process, they also engaged with parents of young children. What are some of their needs? What are some of the concerns when it comes to healthy nutrition, good food, and so on? So students expressed that through the process of engagement with the parents, they had a better understanding and appreciation of content development and some of its expectations for gamification. So then they draw their skills from their ICT training to come up with something exciting and meaningful. So the way ahead, well, these are still pilot implementation. There's a lot for us to improve on and work on, but we've identified 3 ways. I think the first way is that the student reflective practice is important, the critical reflection, for students to just sit back, take a look at what they've learned, how they can improve, how they have managed to draw from their own expertise to help the problems that are out there in the community or society. I think we will include that in our projects going forward. We want students to be able to take a step back and reflect what they have learned. Second is that we feel that there are students who put in a lot more work than others. So those students should need to be recognized, whether it's through an award or whether it's through a written recognition of the work that they do. Because I think there are students who really feel a lot more for society and for the community, so they should be recognized. And third, I think there's a need for us to also align this with whether it's education for sustainability, whether it's the UN Sustainable Development Goals, so that our students are more aware that this is not just a local need in Singapore, but it's a global interest, it's a global priority. Yeah? So we want them to also be more cognizant of when they plan their projects, what is it that I'm trying to address when it comes to, for example, the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. Which are the goals that I'm trying to address or I'm trying to fulfill. So it's still a long way to go. The work that we do is still in its infancy, and we're still learning how to do better. But I think more importantly is the quote from Pericles that remind us that what we leave behind is not engraved in tombs or monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others around us. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much for this clear presentation, and I'm going to address to the public, to the audience. Do you have any question?
Yes. Yes.
Can you share with us something about how the patterns? I mean the patterns of these things that are produced in your university, are they under the name of the students or how you manage it?
Okay, the patents, if it's done, if it's initiated by the students, it will be held actually out. If it's outside of the module and it's student initiated on their own, where they get a grant, then the patent, because they are part of the university, will still be held by the university. Yeah. So the patent is largely under the university. But if it's a project with an industry partner, it will be a shared patent between the industry partner and the university.
Yes. We have another question.
Yes, thank you. It was really